Okay, so are you ready to dive into this Wikipedia article on Reliance Industries?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, so we're talking about a company that started really small, but now it's pulling in like over $100 billion in revenue.
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah, so we're going to try to like break down the company's history,
Hmm.
how it operates, and then get into, some of the controversies that have followed them around.
Yeah, and you know what I think is really interesting about Reliance Industries is that their story kind of mirrors India's economic rise. They go from this small trading company to like a global powerhouse.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story when you think about it.
It really is.
So we should probably start at the beginning, right? Back in 1958,
Okay.
there's this tiny company called Reliance Commercial Corporation,
Right.
and they're dealing in spices and polyester yarn.
Which, like, can you imagine? That's how this massive company started.
It's so hard to picture that. Yeah.
It really is. It's a testament to, entrepreneurial vision. The founder, Dhirubhai Ambani, he saw this huge opportunity in textiles.
Okay.
And then by 1966, they incorporate as Reliance Textiles Industries, and they set up a synthetic fabrics mill.
Wow.
And get this, their public offering in 1977 was oversubscribed by 7 times.
What does that even mean?
It means investors were like throwing money at them. They wanted in so badly.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a good sign early on, right?
definitely a sign of things to come.
So then by 1985, they become Reliance Industries, which I guess means they're branching out beyond just textiles.
Exactly. They're not just a textile company anymore.
Wow.
They're going big time. They went on this huge acquisition spree, buying up companies like Sidpur Mills,
Oh, I remember reading about that.
and then boom, they get their hands on the Indian Petrochemicals Corporation Limited, which was huge. That put them squarely in the petrochemicals and oil refining business. I mean,
Yeah.
you name it, they wanted in.
And wasn't that when they built that refinery in Jamnagar?
Yeah, the biggest one in the whole world.
It's crazy how big they got.
It really is mind-boggling.
Yeah. And it's not just like oil and gas. They've got their hands in everything, right? Like retail with Reliance Fresh, and then there's the whole telecommunications thing with that big push into 4G.
Oh, yeah. Everyone in India could suddenly get online super fast.
It's pretty amazing if you think about it.
Totally changed the game.
So they're like this huge player, not just in India, but globally, right?
Oh, yeah. And, that partnership they formed with BP a few years ago,
Yeah.
that was a real signal to the rest of the world that Reliance Industries had arrived on the scene in a big way.
Yeah, they weren't messing around.
Nope, they were ready to play with the big dogs. But, a company as big and as powerful as Reliance, they're going to attract some attention, some scrutiny.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Right.
And we'll definitely get into all of that. But first, I think we should talk about just how massive this company has become. So we're talking about a company with a global presence. But how do we even wrap our heads around just how big Reliance Industries actually is?
Well, their Wikipedia article throws out this number, 1,122 crore in revenue, which is like, what, 120 billion US dollars
A year.
every year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So just to give you an idea of scale, we're talking about a company that basically contributes like 1% to India's entire GDP.
Wow, 1%. Okay, so those are some big numbers.
Yeah.
But it's not just about revenue, right? Like, where do they stand globally in terms of market capitalization?
So right now they're ranked among the top 100 companies worldwide,
Really?
which makes them the absolute biggest publicly traded company in India by market value,
Wow.
which tells you something about, how investors view their potential.
Right.
And get this, they're also India's largest taxpayer.
Seriously.
No joke.
So bigger than any other company in India.
Oh, yeah, by far. And hold on, it gets even more impressive. Remember we were talking about how they're like this global powerhouse?
Yeah.
Reliance Industries is also India's largest exporter. They contribute something like 7% to India's total merchandise exports.
It's like they're a country within a country.
Pretty much.
So who's actually in charge of this whole thing? Who controls Reliance Industries?
Well, the Wikipedia article mentions that the Ambani family, they still hold a majority stake in the company.
Oh, so it's still very much a family-run business.
It is.
That's interesting considering how big they've gotten. So what about the rest of those shares? Who else is involved?
Well, the remaining shares are distributed among public shareholders, so, anyone can buy a piece of Reliance.
Oh, okay.
But here's a fun fact. The Life Insurance Corporation of India, or LIC, they're the biggest non-promoter investor.
Hold on, LIC. So even the Indian government has a stake in Reliance?
They do. It
Yeah.
just goes to show you how deeply connected Reliance is to the Indian economy,
Yeah, they're everywhere.
pretty much.
Huh.
But, with great power comes great scrutiny, right?
Right.
There's two sides to every story. We need to take a look at the other side, the controversies, the criticisms that have kind of followed Reliance Industries around.
Yeah, let's get into all of that.
Okay.
It's important to get the full picture right.
Exactly. We've seen the glamorous side, the big numbers, the global reach, but no deep dive into Reliance would be complete without exploring the allegations, the criticisms that have been leveled against them.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about some of these controversies that have dogged Reliance Industries over the years. So we've talked about all the success and the influence, but it's true, not every company gets to this size without some bumps along the way, right? So, like, how do we even start to unpack all the controversies around Reliance?
Well, one of the things you hear over and over is that they're too cozy with politicians. That whole crony capitalism thing.
Right, and it did seem like Dhirubhai Ambani, the founder, was pretty good at, making friends in high places. I mean, I remember reading that in the Seminar Magazine piece.
Right.
But is that just how business is done, or is it something more?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, there have been times when it seemed like they got favorable treatment. Like, remember all those accusations about them manipulating regulations to help their telecom company, Geo? People were saying they got an unfair advantage over their competitors and ended up dominating the market.
Yeah, that definitely rubs some people the wrong way. And what about those financial scandals? That whole gas pilferage thing with ONGC, what was that all about?
Okay, so that was a wild one. Basically, ONGC, another big Indian energy company, accused Reliance of basically stealing gas from their reserves.
Seriously?
Yeah, it went on for years. There were accusations about data being messed with and all sorts of shady stuff.
Wow, talk about a messy legal battle. And didn't Reliance also have to pay some huge fines for stock manipulation?
Oh, yeah. The Securities and Exchange Board of India found them guilty of some pretty shady dealings back in the early 2000s. And those fines were no joke, even for a company as big as Reliance.
It's amazing how they just keep going, even with all these controversies. You have to wonder how they do it.
It's a good question. Some people say these incidents are just a blip, that the good they do outweighs any ethical concerns. But then you've got others who see a pattern of bad behavior.
It's complicated for sure. So where does Reliance go from here? What's next for them? They seem to be making some big moves, especially with their subsidiaries.
Definitely. I mean, look at Geo Platforms. That's their tech arm, and they are killing it right now.
They're everywhere.
They've gotten huge investments from giants like Facebook, Google, Intel. Clearly, Reliance is thinking big. They're not just happy being a big deal in traditional industries like energy and retail. They want to rule the future of tech.
Yeah, it's clear that they have some serious global ambitions. And what about the leadership at the company? It seems like Mukesh Ambani is getting his kids ready to take over.
Yeah, it's true. Akash, Isha, and Anant, they're all taking on bigger roles. It's a real family affair. And I think it shows that they're thinking about the legacy of Reliance. Who's going to steer the ship in the years to come.
So what's the final word on Reliance Industries? Are they a force for good, or will all these scandals catch up to them?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, they've played a huge role in India's economic growth, but it hasn't been all smooth sailing. Yeah. They're ambitious, innovative, but also controversial.
Yeah.
It's a complicated story, and only time will tell what the future holds for a company like Reliance.
Well, that was quite the deep dive.
It really was.
Reliance Industries is definitely a company with a lot going on. Thanks for breaking it all down.
Anytime. It was great talking about it with you.